Result: every year, governments around the globe release staggering statistics that highlight the gravity of national debt. The United States finds itself in the throes of over $34 trillion in debt, while Japan grapples with a debt-to-GDP ratio exceeding 250%. Even developing nations such as Pakistan, Egypt, and Argentina are ensnared in substantial financial burdens. It is evident that nearly every country on Earth is operating under the weight of debt, yet life continues with an unsettling normalcy. This situation prompts a profound inquiry that perplexes millions. If every nation is in debt, who stands as the creditor? Whom are these countries actually borrowing from? To unravel this enigma, we must first dispel a prevalent misunderstanding. The general populace often envisions countries borrowing in a manner akin to individuals, securing loans from affluent lenders, major corporations, or foreign governments. However, the reality is far more nuanced. A sovereign nation possesses the ability to create its own currency, print its own money, and issue government bonds, essentially commitments to repay investors in the future. Consequently, when headlines proclaim that America is in debt, many conjure images of another superpower extending financial assistance to the United States. Yet, the truth is far more intricate and compelling. For instance, over 70% of U.S. debt is owed not to foreign entities, but to its own citizens, institutions, pension funds, banks, and even the Federal Reserve. Japan's circumstances are even more pronounced. Nearly 90% of its debt is held internally, owed to entities within Japan itself. This indicates a crucial reality. These nations are indebted to themselves, their own financial systems, their own populace, and their own central banks. Herein lies one of the most significant financial illusions of our time. When governments accrue debt, a substantial portion of that debt remains within the confines of the national economy. Pension funds invest in bonds, central banks acquire bonds, and private investors purchase bonds. The flow of money occurs within the nation's own hands. The country does not become poorer in a traditional sense. Rather, it owes money to its citizens who possess those bonds as secure assets. Yet, if the majority of debt is internal, why do some nations face collapse while others appear resilient? The answer rests in the nature of the debt undertaken by a country, as well as who governs the currency in which that debt is denominated. To fully comprehend this phenomenon, we must journey back to the origins of the modern financial system and examine how countries became ensnared in a web of global creditors that remain largely unseen. To understand who countries truly owe money to, we must look beyond governments and foreign powers and instead examine a far more influential force, ***, global financial institutions, ***. These institutions do not appear on political maps, yet they quietly control the flow of money across continents. When a country needs funds, it does not usually knock on another nation's door. Instead, it turns to *** bond markets, ***, international investors, ***, central banks, and *** global lenders. These entities are powerful not because they own armies or land, but because they control something even more valuable, capital ***. The first invisible creditor is the *** bond market ***, an enormous network of banks, hedge funds, pension funds, and private investors around the world. When governments issue bonds, these investors buy them in exchange for stable, low-risk returns. For example, when the U.S. issues treasury bonds, global investors rush to buy them because they are considered the safest asset on Earth. China, Japan, Saudi Arabia, and European nations all hold billions of dollars in U.S. debt, not as a favor but because it's a profitable investment. The second major creditor is the *** central bank *** of each nation. This is one of the biggest unknown truths about modern debt. When governments borrow, they often borrow from *** their own central banks ***, which create money digitally to buy government bonds. This process is known as *** monetary expansion *** or *** quantitative easing ***. In other words, the government owes money to an institution it technically controls, making the debt almost symbolic. The third hidden creditor is the ** International Monetary Fund IMF ** and the ** World Bank ***. These institutions lend to countries that lack strong financial markets or stable currencies. While the loans seem helpful, they often come with strict conditions, austerity measures, privatization, and policy changes, which give these institutions tremendous influence over national decisions. Countries like Argentina, Pakistan, Kenya, and Sri Lanka have experienced how these conditions can reshape entire economies. And finally, there is the most surprising creditor of all, ***, the private banking system ***. Banks create most of the world's money not through printing, but through lending. Each loan increases the total money supply, meaning banks, not governments, are the main creators of modern money. This makes them silent creditors in nearly every economy on Earth. These creditors are invisible because they're not a single person or country. They're systems, interconnected networks of investors and institutions. And together, they hold the power to make or break nations. One of the strangest features of the modern financial system is that a country can borrow money ***, without anyone actually lending it ***. This sounds impossible, almost like financial magic, but it's the foundation of how global economies work today. To understand this, we need to look at ***, how money is created ***. When a government needs funding, it doesn't dig into a savings account because countries don't save money. They ***, issue ***. They create money by releasing *** government bonds ***, which act like IOUs, promises to pay investors back later with interest. But what happens if investors don't buy enough bonds? What if the government needs more money than the market is willing to provide? This is where the central bank enters, and everything changes. Central banks like the Federal Reserve in the US or the Bank of Japan have the ability to *** create new currency out of thin air ***. No gold, no reserves, no physical printing, just digital money added to the system. They use this newly created money to buy government bonds, which means ***, the government borrows money that didn't exist a moment ago. ***, in this case, the government is both borrower and lender. The debt is real because it appears on official balance sheets, but the creditor is an institution under the same national framework. Effectively, the country owes money *** to itself ***. This system is why developed nations rarely run out of money. They cannot technically go bankrupt in their own currency as long as they control it. Japan is the best example, with debt exceeding to 150% of its GDP ***, yet the economy continues to function because its debt is owed internally and supported by its central bank. But this brings us to a critical difference, and a dangerous one. Countries that *** do not *** control their currency, or that borrow in *** foreign currencies *** cannot use this system. Nations like Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Lebanon, and Argentina borrow dollars instead of their own currency. This means they cannot print money to repay the debt. They must earn dollars through exports or borrow more dollars to survive. This is why two countries with the same amount of debt can have completely different outcomes. For one, debt is a tool. For the other, it becomes a trap. The world sees the number, but not the structure behind it, and the structure decides everything. To understand who truly controls global debt, we must confront the most powerful force in modern finance, the US dollar. It is not only America's national currency, it is the world's currency. And this single fact reshaped the entire global debt system. After World War II, the US convinced major nations to adopt the dollar as the central currency for international trade. Oil, gold, commodities, shipping, global markets, nearly everything became priced in dollars. This gave the U.S. government a unique and unrivaled form of power. Other countries needed dollars far more than the United States needed their currencies. This system created a new kind of creditor, not a person, not a country, not a bank, but a currency. The dollar became the global lender, the global judge, and the global enforcer. When countries borrow from international markets, they don't borrow in Pakistani rupees, Sri Lankan rupees, or Argentine pesos. They borrow in US dollars, a currency they do not control. This creates a dangerous imbalance. The US can print dollars. The Federal Reserve can create trillions instantly. But other countries must earn dollars through exports, foreign investment, or loans. Thus, every non-U.S. country borrowing in dollars effectively becomes dependent on the U.S. financial system. This is why the Federal Reserve, a single institution inside America, has the power to shake entire continents. When the Fed raises interest rates, countries like Egypt, Pakistan, Kenya, Turkey, and Ghana must pay more to service their dollar loans. Investors pull money back into America, causing currency collapses abroad. Food prices rise. Fuel becomes expensive. Imports crash. National budgets blow up overnight. In other words, the world's debt is controlled by the world's currency. But the story doesn't end with the dollar. Other invisible players operate behind the scenes. 1. Global credit rating agencies. These private companies, Moody's, S&P, Fitch, have the power to label entire nations as risky. One downgrade can destroy a country's borrowing capacity. Investors flee. Interest rates skyrocket. Economies collapse. A private company becomes more powerful than a government. 2. Wall Street and European megabanks. These banks lend billions to governments, but they can also withdraw instantly. Their decisions can trigger national financial crises without firing a single bullet. The global creditor is not a person. It is a system built around the dollar, protected by institutions, and enforced by global finance. If every nation borrows, why do some countries collapse under debt while others barely feel the pressure? The answer lies in a structural imbalance built into the global financial system, one that quietly keeps developing nations trapped generation after generation. Powerful economies like the United States, Japan, and the UK borrow mostly in their own currencies. They issue bonds in dollars, yen, or pounds, currencies they can create, regulate, and control. If financial stress hits, they can simply adjust interest rates, expand the money supply, or buy back their own bonds. Their debt becomes a tool of economic management, not a threat. But developing countries operate in the opposite reality. They borrow in foreign currencies, especially US dollars. This means they cannot print the money needed to repay their loans. They are vulnerable to global interest rate changes. Their domestic crises instantly become currency crises, and their ability to repay debt depends on forces outside their borders. This is why a global shock that barely touches Western markets can devastate weaker economies. When the U.S. Federal Reserve raises interest rates, global investors move their money back into America to capture higher returns. As a result, the Pakistani, Egyptian, Argentine, and Nigerian currencies fall. Their imports become more expensive. Their dollar debt becomes harder to repay, and their governments are forced to borrow even more just to survive. This cycle repeats endlessly, creating a debt dependency loop. But the trap becomes even tighter when these countries approach institutions like the IMF. The IMF doesn't just lend money. It demands structural reforms known as conditionalities. These often include cutting subsidies, raising taxes, privatizing public assets, reducing government spending, floating the currency. While these policies are designed to stabilize economies, they often trigger inflation, unemployment, and social unrest in the short term. The country becomes weaker, not stronger, and sometimes more dependent on future loans. Meanwhile, global investors continue earning steady profits from the interest payments. Western governments maintain influence. and multinational corporations gain access to the struggling nation's markets, industries, and resources. This is the hidden truth behind global debt. It is not an equal system. It is a hierarchy where rich nations borrow cheaply and endlessly, and poor nations borrow expensively and reluctantly, often paying the price for decades. Result: at the core of the global financial system exists a profound paradox that often eludes public awareness. Debt transcends its role as a mere economic instrument. It functions as a weapon, a bargaining chip, and a means of control. For robust economies, debt engenders influence. Conversely, for fragile economies, it fosters dependence. To comprehend this dynamic, envision the modern world as a pyramid. At its apex reside nations that borrow in their own currencies and command global trust, specifically the United States, Japan, Germany, and the United Kingdom. These nations issue bonds that attract eager investors worldwide. They can amass trillions in debt without trepidation, buoyed by a belief in their economic stability. But why is this belief so crucial? Global confidence serves as the true currency in international finance. When investors place their trust in a country, they lend at lower rates. When doubt arises, borrowing costs can soar. This relationship engenders a hidden power structure. For instance, when the United States issues debt, nations such as China, Japan, and Saudi Arabia invest in it, propelled by their faith in the dollar. This mechanism enables America to finance military endeavors, infrastructure projects, and global initiatives using borrowed funds, while other nations inadvertently contribute to its power. In stark contrast, developing countries confront a different reality. Even when their governments demonstrate fiscal responsibility, investor wariness prevails. Their currencies are weaker, markets less expansive, and political systems often unstable. Consequently, they incur debt at exorbitant interest rates, frequently 5 to 10 times higher than those paid by Western nations. This disparity reshapes the global landscape. A nation paying 1% interest can invest significantly in growth, while a nation facing 12% interest struggles merely to survive. Debt thus emerges as a mechanism through which powerful nations sustain their global leadership. Weaker nations remain economically constrained. International institutions enforce policy compliance. Multinational corporations penetrate foreign markets with ease, and investors secure consistent, risk-adjusted returns. The most compelling evidence of debt as a source of power lies in the role of U.S. Treasury bonds. These bonds form the backbone of global finance, an asset upon which every central bank and investor relies. This reliance bestows upon the United States a distinctive advantage. It can sustain substantial deficits without facing collapse, as the world's economies require its debt as much as they do its currency. In this intricate framework, creditors are not adversaries, nor are debtors merely victims. Instead, they are active participants in a global system designed to consolidate financial influence in the hands of those who control the world's most trusted currencies. After exploring the global financial system, one truth becomes clear: there is no single creditor, no single country, no single institution. Instead, the world owes money to a network, a vast, interconnected web of investors, banks, institutions, and currencies that together form the backbone of modern finance. When people ask, who is the creditor, they imagine a powerful nation sitting across the table, demanding repayment. But in reality, the answer is far more complex. The world's debt is distributed across millions of participants. Pension funds holding government bonds, banks lending to governments, central banks creating money to stabilize economies, global investors seeking safe returns, institutions like the IMF and World Bank shaping policies, foreign governments investing in other nations' bonds, and even ordinary people whose retirement funds rely on national debt. In other words, the creditor is the system itself, a system that depends on debt to function. Countries borrow not because they are irresponsible, but because debt fuels modern economies. Without it, governments couldn't build infrastructure. Banks couldn't lend, businesses couldn't expand. Ordinary people couldn't receive salaries. And global trade would collapse. Debt is not the enemy. Unsustainable debt is. Strong economies manage debt like a tool, adjusting interest rates, creating currency, and shaping investor expectations. Weak economies, however, remain trapped because they rely on foreign currencies, external investors, and global institutions whose priorities may not align with their own. This leads to the final reality, the world is in debt to itself. But not all parts of the world have equal power within this system. The US owes trillions, but in dollars, a currency it controls. Japan owes even more, but to its own people and institutions. Developing countries owe far less, yet their debt is more dangerous because it is owed in dollars, euros, or yen. Thus, the real creditor is confidence, the belief that a country can repay. Confidence determines interest rates. Confidence determines currency strength. Confidence determines whether debt becomes a blessing or a burden. In the end, global debt is not a mystery or a conspiracy. It is a reflection of how trust, power, and money flow in the modern world. The nations that control these flows stay stable. The nations that depend on them stay vulnerable. And this is why the question, who is the creditor, has a surprising answer. It's everyone. It's no one. It's the world's financial system, running on trust, imbalance, and an endless cycle of borrowed money.